rocking through a Money Monday here on Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm John Tobacco. We're coming in today as we do every day, Monday to Friday, noon to 2 Eastern, from the Newsmax headquarters in Midtown Manhattan. And every single day I come in and the team adds all more new elements. And Lamont, Nico, the whole team, the Fuzz Boys, great job on continuing to make Liquid Lunch greater again. And our intention is always to make great TV for you. And on Money Monday, we bring in the big money guests like John Gibson, who joins us now. And John, you know him from TV, from radio. He's a radio host. He's an American icon as far as I'm concerned in political talk on all medium. And you can catch his podcast now on johngibson.com. Thank you for joining us on Liquid Lunch.
Thanks for the big build-up, John.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's easy. I'm just reading the stuff that Frank wrote down for me. But I know this off the top of my head with you. You're a legend. Frank and I are old radio guys at heart, and you're someone that we emulate in many ways. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So a lot is going on out there in the media landscape, and one thing in particular I know Frankie and I were talking about this morning was CNN is now complaining, Frank, about
well, apparently there's a lot of unhappiness that the president hasn't done a formal White House press conference in about 6 months. Here was Julie Roginski, a former and fellow Fox News alumnus, who is now on CNN. This is what she said.
It's not enough to have chopper talks where the president pontificates for a few minutes, then gets on the chopper and flies off to wherever he's to his next rally, for example. You need to have a professional staff that's answering questions, whether they want to or not. That is the fundamental role and function of a democratic government with a small d, is that we have a sunshine being the best disinfectant, that we need to have somebody who addresses these issues and speaks to the press. The fact that you have an entire press corps sitting in the White House waiting for a briefing that has not come in 6 months is just completely contrary to what we do.
John, and this is probably the most accessible president we've ever had.
Let me make it clear. She's not complaining that Trump doesn't speak to them. She's complaining that Sarah Huckabee Sanders stopped and Stephanie Grisham hasn't done any. She's complaining that reporters are not getting their face time in the daily briefing. Jim Acosta's not getting his face time. John Roberts from Fox, Hallie Jackson from NBC, they all like to get that camera pointing back at them. And Trump has deprived them of that. So they're stuck outside asking him questions. You never see them, you barely hear them, and their feelings are hurt. Jim Acosta's going, wait a minute, I need my FaceTime. You know, we need a press briefing. And Trump has cut it off because he handles the press one-on-one better than the press secretary. He's his own best
spokesperson, clearly. Yeah. Speaking of 2020 and the way forward, the DNC is utilizing a little bit of an interesting strategy in terms of how they're going to beat Donald Trump. I read in Axios this morning that they're planning on weaponizing Trump research. What exactly are they doing?
Okay, so the thing that aggravated me about this story was, of course, everybody uses opposition research. You can't complain that somebody's doing that. Of course they do. But the word they used was, we're going to weaponize it. And that means they're going to make whatever the situation is sound awful so that it hurts Trump or depresses Trump voters or in some ways diminishes his turnout. And whenever you hear people talking about weaponizing something, it means that they're turning the truth into a pretzel in order for it to hurt. So I was kind of blown away that Axios said we're going to weaponize this stuff. Now, they may be reacting because the Republicans, as you might remember, decided that they're going to do research into reporters. Like, well, how's your drunk driving record? And what's your situation? And they're upset about that.
Well, it's funny that they want to get more FaceTime. They want to get on TV. Yeah. And at a certain point, like even Sarah Huckabee Sanders, she was just going out there like chum. Like, she was going out there for the briefing. It was just like going in a firing squad. No one ever asked her a thoughtful question. All they want to do is take shots at the press people.
Well, there's that guy, Brian Karam, who got his press pass jerked. He worked for some little Maryland paper, and then Playboy hired him, and he's just a heckler. standing out there and like it's a comedy club heckling. And most of the reporters, not all of them, I think when you get back in the second, third row, you start hearing straight questions. But the ones up in front, the questions are tend to be little speeches, little partisan speeches with a question mark at the end.
Very quickly, John, we've been talking a little bit about Mark Sanford announcing his candidacy for president. He's now the third Republican to jump into this race. You have two former congressmen and two former governors at this point. One of them, Mark Sanford, is both a former congressman and a former governor. This is much more of a robust primary challenge, at least resume-wise, than George Bush ever faced or the previous George Bush. What is this about, and you see this going anywhere?
A, it goes nowhere, and B, it's just guys trying to raise their profile. Mark Sanford, Joe Walsh, Bill Weld. I mean, come on. This is, of course it's going nowhere. Look, Republican parties in various states have cut out the primaries. I think it's up to 4 of them. There's no primary.
I think you're being nice saying they're trying to raise their profile. If you ask me, some of these Democratic candidates like Bill de Blasio and Kirsten Gillibrand, and now probably some of these Republicans, they run for office. They put out all these online fundraising techniques that they're using now. They pay some middleman a fee for raising them some dough. Then they fly around the country and they pay for everything on the campaign. So I'm not sure it's just about raising their profile. I feel like it's raising their financial bank accounts and stuff too, because they're living off of it.
I'm a little unclear, but I know in some cases the candidates get leftover campaign funds for personal use. I'm a little unclear how that works, but
well, that's what I'm saying.
I've heard it happens.
Yeah, it definitely happens. I'm going to tell you a lot of other little things that you probably don't know, and only a guy like John Gibson can tell us. We're going to take a quick break. You're watching Liquid Lunch. Stay right there. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.